Welcome back to Jamie's Adventures in Dirt 4. My name is Ricky, and today we're going to continue Michigan in the rally part of the Triple Crown. So, as you can see, we are doing quite well. We are first. We're, I think, like a good minute or so in front of second place. Today we're going to do the next two stages, and then I don't really know how we're going to pace out the next three. I'll figure it out before next time.
Hey, it's looked better, but it's running fine. Good luck out there.
That is beautiful.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so,
100 over bumps, 100, right 5, keep left over crest, jump maybe.
Today I'm going to talk about what everyone got up to on their little 2-month break before, you know, the Triple Crown started, in between the rally, the World Rally Championships, or whatever it was called. The rally, anyway, and the Triple Crown. First I should tell you that no one did anything really super exciting, as far as I know. Most people have been fairly, most of the gang has been fairly, I don't know, tight-lipped about what they did specifically, which makes me think that no one did anything super duper fun. So I'm gonna get to Jamie and Maggie at the end, but I'll just tell you what everyone else did. They all went home and went on vacation. Zara went to France. Petra went back to the Czech Republic. Hope went to Australia. You know, Finn went back to the States, where he's from as well. You know, Carol actually. She, come on, thank you. She actually, went to Spain, because when we were in Spain, for the last couple of times we've been in Spain, she's loved it. I mean, Jamie's hated it. Ricky, me, I've hated it, but everyone, everyone, particularly Carol, really enjoyed it. So she actually went to Spain. So I mean, you know, it wasn't a super, you know, it wasn't eventful, or it wasn't too eventful. That sounded not great. That sounded like a broken piece of glass. And I hope that was in game and not like, oh, shoot. Back up. No, I'm not going to recover the vehicle. There we go. We're good. We're good. That was not great, though. So, I mean, you know, Zara, you know, she's from France. She went to the beach. You know, I mean, that's what she did. I don't know what Finn did, because he's still being weirdly mysterious after, you know, being around for like a year or however long he's been here. Probably longer than that at this point. He still wants to be a mysterious human male. The only thing that we know about him is that he's from the States, and that's where he said he went. No, oh. Jeez, I lost control there for a second. I know, that may come as a surprise to regular viewers of my Dirt 4 series. I lost control for a second. So, I mean, it was a fairly uneventful. Pretty much the common theme of everybody coming back is they just wanted to take a break. The only person who didn't want to take a break was Jamie. I think she was just a little too afraid that if she took a break, she might lose all of the good progress she made towards, you know, getting her anxiety under control a little bit more. You know, and of course, as I mentioned last week, Jamie did go to, she did have therapy once a week or so for the 2 months that they had off. Yeah, so, I mean, that's how everybody but Jamie and Maggie spent their 2 months off. Jamie spent it mostly training. Maggie spent it mostly training. She also spent a lot of time with her husband. She was very clear to tell me that because she hadn't seen her husband in a while. And so she wanted to spend some time with him. She missed him, as one might miss a significant other when you are away from them for a while. You know. So, how do you train for rally is a good question that someone might ask. Well, what you might do is you might find like an old parking lot and you might wire up or kind of like line up a track as best you can. That's not what they did. See, Maggie has a friend who has a friend who's got a bunch of land out in North Texas, kind of east of the Metroplex area. It's got a field, a very large field, and they did set up some rally stuff in this field because it's just a field. It's just an empty field. They don't grow crops. They don't have like cattle that might graze. I think they used to have cattle. Yeah, it doesn't matter. And that's how Jamie would try to keep sharp, is they would change it up, or Maggie would change it up every week, or every time they would train, and you know, that way Jamie couldn't get too used to any individual turn or any individual anything. It was actually a pretty good training session, to be honest with you.
That went really well. Great stage. Good work.
Yay! First still, that's good news. I mean, I'll be honest with you though, most of those names are unfamiliar to me. You know, Becker, Weber, the Greek gentleman. I hope we can keep this going into, you know, Australia and Spain, and Wales, and the rest of them. Look at the stage results. Why not? I mean, you know, we're not actually beating them by all that much in any given stage. It's just that when you have 8 stages and you're beating them by just a little bit at a time, it adds up.
Hey, it's
Can
not
we
pretty, but it works. Let's go.
please have a pit stage? Please.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
So that's how they trained,
And over bumps.
in a field,
Left 5.
in a mostly dead grass
Into right
field.
4 long over bumps.
It was the same kind of surface the entire time. It's not like you can try and figure out how to simulate snow in the fall in, you know, North Texas, because you can't. You can barely simulate the fall in Texas. The other thing that Jamie did to keep her mind sharp was to go-karting. She's always enjoyed go-karting. I've never talked about it because never seemed pertinent. But the one thing that she discovered when she was go-karting with some of her friends from McKinney and the Dallas area in general is that it calmed her. It calmed her in a way that driving, in the same way that driving on a rally course can calm her. Not always, because recently it's been, obviously, it gave her a lot of stress during that last tournament. The nice thing is with this tournament, with this championship, we don't have to win. It's not a big deal. Like before, we had to win to get in the Triple Crown. It was a complicated thing, because somehow all these other people who didn't win it are in the Triple Crown, and I don't think that makes any sense. But whatever. And she found that despite the fact that she was consistently like not the winner in this go-karting, there was always another kid, like some like 16-year-old who barely knew how to drive but could drive go-karts better than anybody else. And so she and Maggie would go, and she and some of her other friends would go go-karting. That was a pretty sweet turn. Right up until I hit the stop sign. So, she, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what she did. The other thing she did was with Hope. was hire a new engineer. His name is Brian. I think I mentioned that last week. If I didn't, we have a new engineer. His name is Brian. He's from England. He was not her first choice. But her first choice was a girl from America, from the States. She was actually excited to hire someone from the States. You know, Finn's from the States, and it's part of basically the reason she hired Finn in the first place was from the States. But she doesn't feel like he's really from the States, because he's too secretive. Won't really talk about his life growing up and wherever it was in the northernmost southern east-west state that he grew up in. Because that's what he keeps telling her. Yeah, I grew up in the east. South. The southeast? You mean like Florida, Georgia? That area? No, like the west. Like California? Southeast west. North, southeast, west. Anyway, I digress. But this girl from the U.S., she was wanting a bigger cut that Jamie wasn't willing to give her. Didn't matter how good she was. She just felt like at that point she could not give someone more than 5% in any given time. Then she found Brian, not quite as good, but willing to take the 5% cut. So that was fantastic news for her. Brian, I don't know a lot about Brian yet. I'm trying to get to know him, but we're too busy for me to do that. I say we, I'm not too busy. You know, they're all focused on the Triple Crown. That the rally, you know, these rally championships are far more important than me getting to know our newest team member. Tell you guys about the newest team member. So basically all I know is his name is Brian. He's from somewhere in England. You know, I'll try and find out more for next week. You know, I haven't heard him talking about any soccer team, so I can't even like use that to sort of get an idea of where they're from. You know, he seems to like tennis, so I mean it's not like a help, but it's something we can communicate with because I love tennis. Because he was talking about you know, how great Wimbledon was. So you know, I mean that's how the team spent their break mostly. I mean, I'm sure stuff happened that I just don't know about yet. I can find out about it maybe at some point. Before we finish this race, I want to talk a little bit about something. I recently purchased, not for my PC, a Nintendo Switch Pro controller for my Nintendo Switch. I tried to use it in Dirt 4. I've tried to use it on the PC. It works for most everything. It doesn't work for this game, but not for the reasons you'd think. So you're probably thinking, no, it's probably the trigger, right? The triggers are buttons. They're not what I'm going to call long throw triggers like the Xbox 360 controller I'm currently using. Because honestly, the whole digital analog thing is ridiculous because everything is digital when it leaves the controller. There isn't like a magic way that the triggers are somehow transmitted via an analog connection over USB. So, anyway, it's not that. Mostly because I very, very rarely slow down, where I don't just fully let off the gas. It's not the way you're supposed to race. It's just the way I do. I'd probably be better if I tried to learn a little bit more about slowing down. And sometimes I'm good about doing that. Sometimes I'm not. Now, see, that wasn't me not slowing down. That was me thinking I could try and straighten out the line with that little zigzag right there. But there was too much of a lip, and instead the car went on its top. Which is not the side of the car that needs to be on the ground. The side of the car that needs to be on the ground is the side with the tires. But actually, the reason I couldn't use a Nintendo Switch controller, these sticks. The sticks are great on the Switch controller, but they have a different feel from the 360 controller, the Xbox 360 controller that I normally use. And I'm so used to it that I couldn't drive at all with it. And they're, oh my good lord. And we're up! Booyah! So, at what point does Jamie's Subaru stop being her actual Subaru when they have to replace every element of it? Also, I want to say that may be the coolest thing that I've ever done. But yeah, so I got so used to driving with the 360 controller that I actually can't drive with the Nintendo Switch controller because the sticks are... I think that I'd have to dull the sensitivity even more, and so I'm going to use the 360 controller is what I'm saying.
Perfect. Good job. Well done.
How was that perfect? I mean, how did we win? I literally flipped the car twice. Man, I don't understand. I mean, look, we barely won. Don't get me wrong. But, like, we still won. Even with 4 seconds of penalty time, we still won. You know what? Maybe I shouldn't be looking a gift horse in the mouth, or whatever the expression actually is. That was the 4th and 5th stage of Michigan in the rally portion of the Triple Crown. Next time we'll be taking on the final 2 or 3 stages. I don't really know how I'm going to pace it out on the channel. This has been Jamie's Adventures in Dirt 4. Thank you for watching. Come back soon for more Dirt 4.